A 29-year-old Afghan national by the name of Ramanullah Lakhanwal shot two National Guard from West Virginia in Washington, D.C. yesterday, which was Wednesday, November 26, 2025. And there is so much more to this story. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about 29-year-old Afghan national Ramanullah Lakhanwal shooting two National Guard in Washington, D.C. yesterday on the eve of Thanksgiving. Now, there's a lot we got to get to. So first things first, it was widely reported that the guardsmen were killed. They are not dead. They went through surgery and now they are recovering. So we hope and pray they make a full and complete recovery. Now, let's get to this shooter, Ramanullah Lakhanwal. I know I didn't pronounce that right, but who cares? I don't really care to pronounce this demon's name correctly, but this is him right here. Now, I don't know where this picture is from. It's not recently because he has a fuller beard. Maybe it was when he worked with the federal government, the CIA specifically, over in Kandahar, Afghanistan, as part of a special forces type of unit. I don't know what he was doing, if he was an interpreter, if he was a soldier, whatever the case may be, but he was allowed to come over to the USA in 2021 under the Biden administration after that botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. In 2024, he applied for asylum, and it was unfortunately granted in 2025 under this administration, under President Trump. Now, obviously, he didn't slip through the cracks and did what he did. Now, let's keep going here. This is a picture of him after he did what he did, naked on a gurney. Now, I don't know why he was naked. Maybe they had to search him for a law walk bar type situation, a vest or a bomb or whatever, but he was naked on the gurney right after he shot the two guardsmen, and there are some of the National Guard right there. Okay, let's keep going. We got quite a bit to get through. Now, you can see right here, this is going to be on BBC. You see the headline, it says, suspect who shot National Guard soldiers in D.C. worked with CIA in Afghanistan. So, you know, I'm not making it up. Okay, we got sources. And of course, I'm going to link to everything in the box. If you want to see it there, share it with yourself, share it with your friends and family. Now, these are the National Guard who were shot. You have Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old, and Andrew Wolf, 24. And they were just sworn in right before they went to D.C., and that happened to them. So again, we're sending prayers out to them. Hopefully they make a full and complete recovery. And they are from my home state, West Virginia. So shout out to them for serving our country from the best Virginia, West Virginia. All right, now here's Judge Janine speaking to a reporter who was trying to blame the guardsmen for getting shot, trying to blame Trump for them getting shot, because a narrative from the left is, well, the guards shouldn't be there. So since they're there, some are not going to like their presence and something might happen. So when you say some don't like their presence, what do you mean? Afghan nationals who just got here a few years ago, who are probably a terrorist in their country of origin? Let's watch this right quick, shall we?
Set with the president believing that the National Guard members should not even have been there if it were not for the executive order.
I don't even want to talk about whether they should have been there. We ought to kiss the ground and thank God that the president said it's time to bring in more law enforcement to make sure that a city that had the fourth highest homicide rate in the country was that violence was quelled. I'm not even going to go there.
Exactly. And the thing about it is the National Guard, a big part of them being there is a deterrent. DC has a very high crime rate. People don't really care about the crime rate until it affects them. The purpose of the National Guard was to prevent the crime from happening. And if the guard weren't there, but this guy who was probably a terrorist was there, what could have been the outcome if they weren't in the way of him and the general public? Who knows? All right, let's keep going. Now, this is going to be J.D. Vance from earlier this year talking to Margaret Brennan about this whole situation with the migrants and the refugees, and are they properly vetted, all this, that, and the third.
When you talked to us in August, you said, I don't think we should abandon anybody who's been properly vetted and helped us. Do you stand by that?
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals have been properly vetted.
But there are 30,000 people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary concern as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that we know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people are vetted. Good. These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted.
Let's pause for a minute. Now, how properly vetted was the guy who just did that in Washington, D.C.? How properly vetted was he? Now, again, this particular clip is from earlier this year, January 25.
And many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly, he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted. And because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
Very well said. Now, unfortunately, this guy was granted asylum under the Trump administration. So I don't know what that's all about, but what he's saying, aside from that factoid, is correct.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
There we go. Let's keep on going here. This is going to be current news from a couple of hours ago on ABC News about the situation in D.C. Let's watch.
Breaking news on the shooting of 2 National Guard members in Washington, right near the White House. Jay O'Brien starts us off with the latest on the investigation. Good morning, Jay.
Yeah, Rebecca, the scene is clear here now, but it was right at the entrance of this metro station where those 2 guardsmen were shot, ambushed in broad daylight. Our crew arriving here just moments after those shots rang out. A chaotic scene, people running for their lives, other guardsmen sprinting from parts of D.C. to attend to their wounded comrades. The FBI director now saying this is being investigated as a possible act of terrorism. This morning, new details emerging after a gunman shot 2 National Guardsmen in the heart of the nation's capital, just a block away from the White House, in what investigators are now calling a targeted attack.
The National Guard shot in the head.
The 2 guardsmen currently in critical condition, identified as 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom and 24-year-old Andrew Wolf.
Let's pause for a minute. Now, if they got shot in the head, if one of them or both of them got shot in the head, that's going to be a long road to recovery.
Law enforcement identifying the lone suspect as 29-year-old Ramanullah Lakanwal, an Afghan national who came to the United States in 2021.
What we know about him is that he drove his vehicle across country from the state of Washington with the intended target of coming to our nation's capital.
The CIA director saying this morning, quote, the Biden administration justified bringing the alleged shooter to the United States in September 2021 due to his prior work with the U.S. government, including CIA. Sources telling ABC News Lakanwal was later granted asylum in April 2025 by the Trump administration. Investigators saying the shooter deliberately targeted the 2 guardsmen as they stood outside a busy metro station.
The suspect came around the corner. He immediately started firing a firearm at the 2 National Guard members.
Our own ABC.
Now, my question is, how many guys are sleeper cells like that in this country? And what would cause them to become activated?
Cameraman Chris Plater there as it all happened.
What I heard were pop, 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 but then boom, boom, boom. And so I'm starting to hear these big guns.
People nearby running for their lives. First responders scrambling to help. Some seen here on the ground attempting to give first aid to those 2 wounded guardsmen, a man and woman both deployed to D.C. from the West Virginia National Guard, immediately rushed to local hospitals. The suspect also wounded. Nearby National Guardsmen jumping into action, subduing the shooter.
The reason that this suspect is in custody is because of the bravery of the men and women of the National Guard who responded due to their extensive training to secure American lives today. There was not any further injury and any further shootings.
Now, since August, more than 2,000 National Guard troops have been deployed here to Washington, D.C. on the orders of President Trump, part of what he calls a crime crackdown. They've largely been patrolling heavy tourist areas with traditionally low crime, and they've been in particular focused on metro stations. Lindsay.
Well, the place where this particular shooting happened is well known for violent acts. So when you say, oh, they're patrolling low crime areas, you're trying to like downplay their importance, which is a big narrative you guys are pushing that Trump is the reason why this whole thing happened. That's typical, soft messaging from the mainstream media. They're not trying to say it directly, but they're trying to say it indirectly so you pick up on it. But I picked up on it and I debunked it. But as I close, I want to say this. Again, we wish the 2 National Guard from West Virginia, my home state, a full and complete recovery. To the guy who did this and anybody else, hey, man, you guys got to get the ultimate penalty. Whatever the ultimate penalty is, you guys got to get it. And there needs to be some restrictions on who we allow into the country through the so-called refugee program, because obviously not everyone, even if they were an ally over there, not everyone is suited to be in the USA. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what said you? What's your opinion about this situation? 29-year-old Afghan national, a so-called refugee who was living in Washington State, drove his car across country to go to DC and do that. What's going on? Was this something that he was going to do for a long time? Was he planning it from Afghanistan? Was he upset about the Afghan withdrawal, which was a disaster in 2021? And he decided from that day or before that day to go do this? Why did this happen? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. The guy shouldn't have been here. That's just plain and simple. Even if he was working with the CIA, even if he helped us, obviously there's an issue with some of these people, and it's better to not have them in our country because they're going to be a danger to us. Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.